Hi guys, welcome to Babydoll's Happy Hour. I gotta get on Instagram. I go back here. Okay, hi guys, how are you? How's everybody doing this evening? How was your day? I thought I would push this back just a little bit because I could reach people in a different place in their day. So hopefully you've already gotten past all of your work schedule, all of your kids' schedules. There might be still a few of you doing some sports teams, practice runs, or let's see, school just started, so there's soccer practice, maybe not yet, football practice, cheer practice, dance practice, all those things if you have kids. And if not, if you're finished, hopefully you already came home and you already had dinner and you're in a more mellow place. I know I am. So when I was doing it at 7, it was making me feel like I was rushing around still and I was still trying to feed people here and the dogs and everything was still kind of going bouncing off the walls. And so I decided I'm going to slow it down and have it just a little bit later and we can just talk from the heart. So I'm in a totally different place right now than I was this afternoon. This afternoon I was trying to teach you some stuff, let you know what was going on. I talked about how Darren and I told our story, and it took 3 podcasts. So there's a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. And I do hope that you will watch it, and I hope that you will share it with someone who is either struggling with any type of aholic, or if they have somebody in their family that is struggling. Um, because I just think it's really helpful when you have people that are just talking from their heart and telling you their story, because you can look at people and assume that maybe their life is a certain way, but if you don't know what they've been through to get to where they are, then when you do know that, you may see them in a completely different way. And so I don't say that just about me and Darren, because I had a really great childhood. I think I was fairly popular. I did ballet and I was the lead in the ballet. I was in the paper a lot and I was smart. I had great grades, honor roll, always getting accolades. Um, I started performing at the college when I was 9, and I started singing and doing music. So I went from dance to music. Musical theater was my favorite by far. And Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was one of the first musicals that I saw that I just totally fell in love with. I think the very first musical I was ever in was Hansel and Gretel, and I was 9 years old, and it was at Texas Tech, and I was an angel. And it was very sweet. And then I did Carousel and um, Camelot. The Camelot. That was super fun. And I did some operas. I did a lot of dancing and singing. So I had an opera teacher. He was incredible. And that was all just an amazing experience as a kid. And so I was in theater, ballet, music. I played piano when I was 6. And I was a cheerleader and student council. And I went across town to go to a special school that was for the smart kids. And so my high school was actually predominantly Hispanic. Those of you who went there are probably laughing at me. But there was kind of a cluster of us that had gone there for the LEAP Honors Magnet Program. And it was just a really unique group of people. And they've all gone off to do really amazing things. I could go on through the list, but it was just a cool group of people. So I had a great childhood and I had great parents and I had a great family. Still have a great family. Um, so then as things started to happen that were unexpected, then my life kind of goes into a tailspin. And most of it was a reaction to the things that were going on. My mom died, a lot of things that you've heard me talk about before, probably, but it was the reaction to the things that were going on in my family that really put me in a tailspin because I gave up on myself, totally gave up on myself. I gave up on God and I gave up on my family. And that's where things started to really go south for me. And that's where the drinking started. And then I go into this messy middle season of my life. And then it flipped back and it rebounded and in a beautiful, beautiful way. And I'm still here. I'm alive and thriving, which is a complete miracle. And without God, it is completely not possible. And, when I talk about it and I try to get people to truly understand how great it was and then how horrible it was, how terrible, how close to dying I was many times, and people dying around me, I never feel like I can really get the full understanding of how bad it was. And so then if you look at me today, it looks like my life is amazing, and it is. But I don't say that as a brag. I just say that because the way that God stepped into my honey's watching me, isn't that sweet? Hi, honey. He's out in the pool in the backyard watching me. So it's just such a beautiful thing the way God intervened into my life and I changed the environment. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but when there is a flower or a plant that is not surviving and it's not thriving, you don't get mad at the plant. Like it's not the plant's fault. What you do, and my honey, he does so many beautiful flowers in the backyard. My whole backyard is gorgeous because he loves to plant flowers and do that. That's one of his favorite hobbies, I guess. He just likes everything to look beautiful. It's so great for me. But when flowers are not thriving, when plants are not thriving, you don't get mad at the flower and the plant. But you think about what that plant or that flower needs. Does it need water? Does it have too much water? Do we need to give it some plant food or some fertilizer? Does it need the sun? So you change the environment of the plant or the flower. And I feel like that's the same way it is for us. Like we need some of the same things that plants need. We need water, we need food, we need sunlight. And when we don't have those things, we get out of sync and out of whack. And so when we get into our recovery, we have to think about our mind, our thinking, our physical body, and the elements that we need. Like we need the sun, and we need exercise, and we need healthy foods. And it's more important to think about what your body needs than all the things that it doesn't need. And for someone to come in and tell you what you need and what you don't need, sometimes is just truly not helpful, especially if you're teetering on recovery and you're trying to get well and you're trying to get healthy and you want for your life to be good and it's messed up. And so people tell us, you just need to stop drinking, you just need to quit smoking pot, you just needed this, you just needed that. It doesn't sink in because it's like the flower or the plant. nurturing. That's a very good word. We need nurturing. We need people to love us. And I talked about this in my podcast because Darren, in the middle of my mess, when we met in the middle of our messes, he said, "This isn't who you are." And I needed someone to say that to me so badly because I had given up on myself. I had given up on my family. I totally gave up on my husband at the time. I gave up on my marriage. I never give up on my kids, and I think that's how God looks at us. Like, He never gives up on us. He's going to be there through every dark thing, every bad decision, and bring us to the other side of it. But so I have this beautiful life that turned into a messy life, and then it was beautiful again. And I just was thinking, I got to have a really great conversation with my dad today, my dad that I call Daddo. And it started with a conversation about one of my uncles that my Daddo lives here with me. And he raised me since I was 2, and he just had has always been the hero of my life. That's just the place he was given in my life. And so he lives here. And my uncle Jimmy, who lives in Oklahoma, I kind of try to watch out for him too from a distance. But we were just talking about that, and then we started talking about my kids, and my first grandson just started kindergarten, and I was, worried about my daughter experiencing that because my daughter, she's 29 and she has 3 kids. So she had 3 kids in 5 years. And so her youngest is only 1. So she's still recovering from that baby. And it's just really exciting to watch. My daughter Elizabeth does such a great job of being a mom. And we saw about a week ago celebrating Grayson's birthday for his birthday, and then we just hung out and got ice cream and stuff like that. Um, but I was just watching my daughter and her husband at the table, and so here we are in the middle of a really nice Mexican food restaurant, and everything was going so well. Like the baby, who's only 1, wasn't crying. She wasn't upset. She got a little fussy because she was a little bit tired, but not really. And Champ was, he's 3, just turned 3, and he was, a little shifty in his chair, got up and down a few times, and he has a lot of energy because he's 3. And is 6, and he's getting ready to go into kindergarten. And Elizabeth and Michael, just the way they work together, and the way that he is a father, and the way that she is a mother, and the peace that was in that table was just beautiful. It was just a beautiful, precious moment. And those are the kinds of things and times that I'm talking about. Like when I look at my life today, I'm not just alive, and I didn't just survive, but really every part of our family is still thriving. And we still have issues, and we still have regular things that go wrong, like anybody else. We're not perfect. But just to see what God has done in my life and to sit with Elizabeth, and I almost could cry right now because, maybe being proud is not the right word, but I was so joyful, and I had so much peace watching Elizabeth and her 3 children just having dinner and just having peace, and knowing that she chose a husband that is so good to her and such an incredible dad. Like, he's down on the floor playing with them. He can whip up a meal. He does laundry. He cleans. He works his, what off. And he's very successful. and I love his family. And they live about an hour and a half away too. So they have three sets of grandparents that they get to have involved in their lives and helping. And it's just beautiful. It's just one of those things that you couldn't put together on your own, but you know that God is in it. You know that God is in it, and you know that God is there. And it's just, I'm not bragging on me or them, I'm bragging on God because it's just so beautiful to watch. And then Grayson's birthday is actually my grandmother's birthday. And so my very first grandson was born, and I became a grandmother on my grandmother's birthday. And that is another like God thing, like you couldn't put that together if you tried. I mean, I guess you could, try. It's just God is in everything. God is in the details. He's in the big stuff. He's in the little stuff. All along the way, He's with you and never leaves us. And what was the other thing I was thinking about? Okay, so my middle daughter got married last November at this beautiful, beautiful place called the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. And that was a beautiful story. Like the event was beautiful, and Olivia's beautiful, and Nick is beautiful, and her husband Nick is married to my oldest daughter's best friend. And so like that's a beautiful thing. And you couldn't put that together. And so sisters, my two daughters are married to best friends. And that's so cool. And when Olivia was turning 7 or 8, I had won this contest. I was a salesperson for 20 something years. And I had won this contest. And I got to take my family to the Broadmoor for like a weekend. And there was some event that, I was a part of and I won it. So, that we were there. And it was right around Christmas, which is also Olivia's birthday. And so Olivia's birthday is right by my mom's birthday. And I do have a point. So thanks for sticking with me and following me through this because I promise you it's going to be good. But Olivia, her birthday. And so we're at the Broadmoor, and you couldn't have painted it a more perfect scene because there's snow on the ground. And, the kids are with their dad and swimming inside, all three of them, swimming indoor. And I did my function, and it was just dreamy, but it was also Olivia's birthday. So we went and celebrated her birthday. And so I just think it stuck with her all the time because it was just such a incredible experience. And our our rooms had like solid marble in the bathroom. It's just dreamy. And so she got married there. And so my mom, her birthday's in December, like Olivia's, and they're so very much alike. And so I say this all the time, but I get to enjoy so many of the best parts of my mother in both of my girls. And I am sappy tonight because this is the season when I lost my mom. So my birthday is August the 25th, which is Sunday, 25th. And then Grayson just started kindergarten. And when Elizabeth, who's my oldest, started kindergarten, about 2 to 3 weeks into kindergarten, we had to pull her out of school. And me and the girls moved to Lubbock because my mom, I just had this knowing that she had been sick for a couple of years, and I just knew it was coming. I just knew it in my soul. And I pulled her out of school, I put everybody in the car, and I did this weird thing where I had my stuff packed, I put it in the car, I took it out of the car, I put it in the car, I took it out of the car. I was calling all these different people in the family, friends and family. They had all gone to a doctor's appointment, and they were all in the same room and all saw the same doctor, but they all had a different story, which happens all the time. So I'm listening and I'm like, I just know I gotta go. So I get in the car, I take off, and I end up in Wichita Falls. I'm so frazzled, I go the complete wrong direction. And then I turn around and I go there and I celebrate my birthday on the 25th. And Elizabeth's birthday is the 30th. So we have all these coincidental, similar birthdays. And Elizabeth turns 5, and 30 days later, my mom passed away. And so it was September the 25th, which is why I'm having an event here for women on September the 25th, because I decided I wanted to celebrate and honor my mother on that day, so I wouldn't just sit around and be sad and think of all the terrible things, but that I would celebrate me, that I'm alive, that I survived so many things, that I would, because it's even more exciting for me, maybe not anybody else, but for me, that I'm alive and that I survived all that, because my mom lost her life at 47 years old, and I was 46 when I almost died in Parkland Hospital. So, and really, I go back and tell all these things because my hope is to give everyone else hope, and to give you inspiration and motivation and encouragement, and have the courage and the braveness to like power through and keep going and go forward. And you can fight cancer and you can win, like my friend Connie, and you can fight autism and win, and you can fight alcoholism and all these things. So that's my point. I hope you understand that. So last year I had my first event, and I honored my mother and my grandmother. And again, I wanted to say my grandmother is the one who helped the Chickasaw Nation, and she's in the Chickasaw Hall of Fame for what she did, the work that she did for drug and alcohol abuse, which is very common in Native American cultures for a lot of reasons, and that's a whole nother tangent. I'm going to talk about that in another podcast, and I'm going to talk about that. That's why I'm doing this movie, because it's going to be about my great grandmother, 7 generations from my kids, who was the first one in our lineage to be born in Oklahoma Territory from the Cheers. And so I'm in the middle of this research, and we're trying to find out for sure if her parents were on the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Cheers, that's another thing. The Trail of Tears. And so the Chickasaws and the Choctaw Indian culture, they had their homes in Mississippi and a few other places, but mostly in Mississippi. And so they traveled from there and other places on the Trail of Tears. It comes through Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, and even I think as far as Virginia. But the point is, they were replaced and displaced from their homes to Oklahoma. And so Capsy is her name, and Capsy is who my mother was named after. And so my mother's name is Kathleen, but everybody called her Kathy. And apparently, when she was in high school, they called her Olive Oil because she was so skinny. And the doctor told her that he wanted her to eat grilled cheese sandwiches and drink chocolate milk at night because she was too skinny. And she did. So then she ended up getting pregnant with me. That's a whole other story. But the point is, I love celebrating my mother. I love that I get to celebrate the parts of my mother in my girls, in Olivia and in Elizabeth, and they have different parts of her personality, and I just so enjoy that. And lately, when I hear myself talking, I'm hearing my mother. So maybe that's why I really decided I really like hearing myself talk, and I'm doing this. I don't know. But anyways, so I love to honor my mother and my grandmother because they were so special to me, and they were just the kind of people that were very special to a lot of people. And so my grandmother lived out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma, and she had Indian housing that she lived in, and she was very involved with the Chickasaw Nation. And people knew that they could come to her house and she would help them get sober. And she kept whiskey, and I don't know what all else, but it was way up at the top in her kitchen. And I remember seeing it, but she was never a drinker. but it was there for when she was helping people because they would get trimmers. And, I've said this before, but, some things just need to be said and said because it can be very dangerous to come off of drugs and alcohol specifically. So you just have to be careful. And a lot of times it does need medical attention because I had a friend and she tried to cold turkey off of alcohol and she went into seizures and she almost bit her tongue off. And I think she was driving when that happened. So it was very terrible. So you can't take this, you have to take it very serious when you're going to come off of alcohol because the physical addiction is very strong. So, anyways, my grandmother lived out there in the middle of nowhere, and she had this china cabinet that she kept her gun behind. And so, anytime she heard anything outside, she'd get her gun and she'd be out on the porch, ready. It's just such a funny memory to me because I thought, man, she's not joking around. But she was so loving and so kind and such a giver. And she always saw the best in people. And I just love that about her so much. So that's my grandmother Helen. And that's the lineage of the Chickasaws that goes all the way back to Kathy, who I'm trying to get all my research finished so I can put together this movie about her. It's going to be so beautiful. So this is the season where my mom passed away, and I get pretty sappy, and I get even still like she passed away in 2000, and so this is year 24, and I still get sappy, and I still get emotional, and I still sometimes get just angry out of nowhere. And before I realize what has happened, I'm just angry, and then I have to go lay down on the bed and cry because I realize and I recognize what is going on with me. And why am I talking about this? Because these are some of the kinds of things that make us drink. One of the biggest reasons why I'm having sober circles and Babydoll Lives, Babydoll's Happy Hour, and podcasts, and the conference or the night of testimonies. It's my turn for women in September, and because I walked into the rooms of AA and Celebrate Recovery, and I thought, where were these rooms before I needed them? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we have to wait until somebody's in the hospital, a treatment center, jail, or dead before we finally get a clue about what that person needed? And so I'm going to go back to the flower for a minute because my favorite flower and the flower that I had last year was sunflowers at my event. And I was getting ready. I love this story. Thanks for hanging on, whoever's listening to me, because I'm just shooting from the hip this evening, and it's just my heart. But I was getting ready for my first event last year. And I want to say we had it on September the 17th, and there were 17 women there. Because I had the whole thing with the number 17, and that's the whole thing. But I was getting ready, and my Dado, my hero of my life, Dado, came up to me out of the blue and started talking about this sunflower farm that my family had. Just totally out of the wild blue yonder. And I thought to myself, what is he talking about? So I vaguely remembered going to this farm with my grandmother, which is his parents. So not my mom, because I've been talking about my mom's mom, but Dado's parents, Grandma G and Grandpa. And I vaguely remembered traveling with them to the farm, and we had these giant sunflowers. Like sunflowers can get this big. I don't know if you know that about sunflowers. They can get this big and like super tall as me, maybe even taller. I'm not that tall, so probably taller. And so I thought God's trying to tell me something here. So I went and looked it up. What is the meaning of a sunflower? It's so cool because they represent grit, because they can grow anywhere. And if you know anybody who's ever had sunflowers in their front yard or their backyard or anywhere, they're so hard to get rid of. And so my friend, we became friends last year, Jenny, she came with me to Kim's retreat in January, the long black hair. She's a bodacious babe. And she told me about that. So she grew up in West Texas like me. So when I get around Jenny, my West Texas accent comes out really strong. You may not even be able to understand me when I'm around Jenny. So she grew up in West Texas, and I was in Lubbock. She grew up in Abilene, which is where my husband Darren, his aunt, lived. And so his aunt Judy, her kids grew up with Jenny. That was a whole nother interesting thing. But anyways, so back to the sunflowers. You can't kill them. They're really hard to get rid of. They come back stronger every year. They grow back every year, and they can grow in a crack in the concrete. They can grow on the side of a mountain. And the reason is, I learned, is that they are a heliotropic flower, which means they always face the sun. So they follow the sun, or they'll find the sun, so that they even will grow out weird and they'll try to find the sun, but they're so hardy and they're so strong and they have grit. And I thought, you know what? That's me. And that's my family, because everything you've ever been through, you have survived. And so I'm here and you're here because we've 100% survived everything we've been through. And so I thought, I have to have these sunflowers at my event. And so I did. So I am going to have them this year, but this year I think I'm going to pass out seeds, because recently I was trying to not shop, right? So I was trying to spend less money, and I went to the dollar store, and what did I find? Sunflower seeds. And that is, I love the way God, if you will listen, God will talk to you in every single thing that you're doing. Everywhere you go, every conversation you're in, everything you watch on TV, everything you see on your computer, everything on your phone, everything in every environment that you're in, if you will look for God, you will always find him. And so sunflowers are my thing. And they are grit, they're strength, they're fortitude, they are just powering through all seasons, rain or shine, all the things. And so that's why you see me posting sunflowers. Also, so they say, is that when it's cloudy or raining outside or dark and they can't find the sun, they face each other to get the energy from each other to sustain themselves. And I thought, what an incredible representation of what I'm trying to do with women. Like I was talking about these rooms of AA and these rooms of Celebrate Recovery. And why do we wait until everything is a mess? Like, can't we as women be godmothers of the younger generation, like Lisa Bevere's book, Godmothers? If you haven't read that, you have to read that book. And we have in Titus 2 in the Bible, it talks about like we have a duty as the older Christian women in the kingdom to reach down and lift up the other women and to reach up and help the elderly. And it's a whole circle of things that we need to be doing. And I think it gets missed because we're going through life trying to power through everything. And our culture in the last, I don't know how long, guys, but for a long time, that we've been trying to just power through and do it yourself, do it on your own. And well, anybody who's Christian knows that we can't survive for very long trying to do it on our own, right? It's just, we need each other. And so I had this vision today of the Rockette, because I'm a dancer. And I was telling my friend Susan, she brought me breakfast this morning and gave me a little gift for my birthday. It was so fun. I love her, my spiritual mom, Susan. You're going to meet her soon. And I was like, if you think about a long line of dancers, like the Rockettes, So they've got their arms around each other's shoulders, right? And they're just kicking. And that's what they're known for, is a big, long of kicks. And like, in order to get into the Rockettes, you have to be like a certain weight, a certain height, I don't know, all these things, you know. And so it's a big deal to be a Rockette. But if you've ever seen them dance, they sometimes will carry some of the dancers, you know. So they'll have like every other one will lift up, and they'll just be swinging, they'll just be floating in air. And I thought about, you know, if we all could lock arms, if we could swim up river and catch them before AA, before jail, before Celebrate Recovery, before the treatment center, before jail, before hospitals, before death, before the suicide note. How do we do that? How do we swim up river and say, hey, warning, mayday, mayday, there's a cliff down here. You know, turn around, put your life jacket on, put your raincoat on. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you read this book, Godmothers, and if you follow Lisa Bevere, she's doing this awesome standing up for females being females and women being women and men being men. And I so support that 100%. That's the way God made us. And anything other than that is just, it's confused, and it's something got lost along the way, and we need to fix it. We need to help. We need to help them. Everybody needs help, though. Imagine if we all locked arms like that. When somebody misses a step, somebody loses and gets off balance, the line of women will carry them. Isn't that so cool? And then yes, sunflowers are totally symbolic. And Morello, I hope I'm saying your name right, but sunflowers are the best. And yes, we need to reach up, we need to reach down, and we need these groups that are safe. And so that's the other thing I stand for. Like, we need safe places for women to have safe conversations. We need places that we can go where we can ugly cry and spread our mascara all over everything, and everybody's still going to love us. And we need someone to pick us up when we fall. And we need someone to be on the front and the side and the back and protecting us, just like Jesus, just like the hands and feet of Jesus, just like God and the Holy Spirit. And as we go along in our own Christian walk, we can become stronger. You know, when we follow people like Lisa Bevere and Joyce Myers and Real Talk Kim and Sheila Craft and the women that have been at my church forever, since the beginning, that I've so looked up to, and Shani and Jennifer and Tammy and Alicia and Darlene and all the names I could name, you know, that I followed these women. So when I lost my mom and I walked into Elevate Life Church in 2005, and I latched on to the Craft family, not like a leech, you know, not like a mooch, but I just followed their life, and I watched them from a distance, and they were totally a mentorship for me, even from a distance, even long before they ever knew who I was. You know, I went to a she gathering that Sheila Craft had one time, and I had both girls with me. It was a lucky day that I had, because, you know, they went to college and they've grown up, and now they have husbands and they have lives and kids and their own things to do. But they were both with me, and I told Sheila that I told my girls, I used to have a phrase that I would say, instead of what would Jesus do, I would say, what would Sheila do? And what would Sheila say? And I just had this version of who she was that I tried to follow, and I tried to be all that she was, and that totally pulled me out of the dark. and following these women, Joyce Myers, these strong Christian women, Real Talk Kim. I mean, she is my alter ego. She speaks to me in dreams. Like that, the spirit on her talks to me loud and strong. I love it. And Lisa Bevere and Nicole Crank. Who else? TD Jakes, Keith Craft. There's just so many people that we can follow. Oh, Michelle Brogan. How did I forget Michelle Brogan? I coached with her last year. And she so encouraged me to get into a lot of what I'm doing today and encouraged me to get closer to Kim. And it's just a whole process. It's a whole process. It's a whole journey. And you're always in your process. That's what I want to tell you. You're always in your process. And you're always on your journey until we're done. And so make sure you're finding your own sober circle or get in mind. Yes, RTK is total fire. I mean, I had a dream one time that she told me to get up, pick the microphone, get up, pick it up. It's so clear. And there's been a lot of them. Love her. She's the bomb. So make sure you're in a circle or a group of people that are sober, people that love God, people that love Jesus, people that have an understanding of what the Holy Spirit means. And they're reading the Bible. And I'm being sober from all the junk. We need to get sober from all the junk. I talked about it today about how we get this giant boulder in between us and God. And it's the things that other people have done to us. And so we have resentment because life wasn't fair. What they did wasn't fair. Or we have guilt and shame about things that we've done, or both. And we have to have resilience and strength and hope and faith to be able to have the courage to get the boulder out of the way. So we don't want to put any more boulders in our path, right? So we want to surround ourselves with people that are following God. We got to get on the God train and go towards God always, always, every day, all day long. Because that train's going to go with or without you. Like God will never leave you, and He's going to come and be with you in your dark moments and the worst times of your life. But there's a whole movement. There is a kingdom here, and it all is going to happen with or without you. That's the thing. That I'm sorry to say that's the thing, is it's going to happen with or without us. And so we want to jump on the God train, and we want to be in the Word and immersed in Scripture and worship and praise and your prayer life. And so much of recovery is about what you are doing instead of what you are not doing, or what you've decided to do in place of. That's why, because towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, Keith and Josh Kraft, they do this every year. It's like, what do you need to keep doing? What do you need to stop doing? And what are you doing good? Or what do you need to start doing that you're not doing? What is it that you're not doing that you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing? And what do you need to keep doing? And so this is the same thing. It's like, what do we need to get rid of over here? What they did, what he and she and they said. They. We need to get rid of all the days. And then the forgiveness of ourselves of what we've done. And don't hide under the shame umbrella. We got to get out from underneath that guilt and shame. And then it's more about what you are doing, that you are getting up and you're getting in your Bible sometime in the day. I recommend in the morning. Start with gratitude. Start your morning every day with gratitude. Number one, start with gratitude. I like to go outside and start with prayer. And then I get my coffee and then I read my devotional. This one is my favorite because my friend Shane told me about it. This way. Paul Tripp, New Morning Mercies. And I get my devotional and I read lots of books. And yes, we cannot be held captive by shame. 100% no. And we got to get it off of us. Jesus already came and did what we needed. And so the older we get, when we're living our life well, we learn to forgive quickly other people and ourselves. We get better at that, and we get better at letting go so that we can move on, because the God train's going with or without us. And so we got to either jump on it and go with God, or we're going to get left behind eventually. And so it's going to happen with or without us. You got to immerse yourself in God and prayer life and worship. And it's about what you are doing in recovery. It's about feeding your mind what your mind needs to heal from the mess. It's about feeding your body what your body needs to heal and be healthy. And it's about feeding your spirit what your spirit needs to be healthy too. So it's mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, spirit. We have to heal all three of those areas in order to fully recover from anything. Anything. All of it. All of it. Food, pot, sex, drugs, alcohol, gossip, toxic relationships, being a people pleaser, too much codependency, all the stuff. So you've got to have love and gratitude. And what you'll find when you get into recovery is people in recovery somewhere along the way decided they didn't like themselves. There is a lot of suicide related to drugs and alcohol. And it's because, I'm going to share a secret with you. I would say the great majority of people that are addicts and alcoholics do not like themselves. And they certainly do not love themselves. And they haven't learned how to do that very well, and not even a little bit. And they don't care if they die. They'll drink, and they'll drink into oblivion and black out, and they'll do it day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. It's very, very, very sad. When you really understand why people drink and use, and why they sell their bodies, and why they overeat, is because somewhere along the way they didn't feel good enough, and they don't feel good enough about themselves, and they don't care if they die. And I know this sounds dramatic, but I have to be real, because that's my whole point. It's like, I'm here to tell my story, to be a light of hope and encouragement, to be that person that will walk with you through this darkness, and to inspire you and motivate you and encourage you that you can come out of it. Because my life went full circle. My life's not over yet. Who knows what could happen tomorrow? Knock on wood. I pray that I'm blessed and have a blessed day tomorrow. But it went from amazing to horrible to amazing. And I want to give you that experience and hope and faith, that and encouragement that you can come out of it, and you can have a better life. You don't have to live that way. And people, yes, it is. It is the reality, and it is heartbreaking. And I don't know if some people know that, because sometimes humans can be very, very, very cruel, especially to an addict and an alcoholic. And it reminds me of the way they treated Native Americans, because Native Americans and, in Black history, like, they weren't even considered a person for a long time. They didn't have rights. They couldn't vote. All kinds of stuff. And so we look at addicts and alcoholics as, sometimes like aliens. Like, what in the world is the matter with you? Like, why can't you just get it together? And the thing is they are doing the best they can. They are doing the best they can in their worst moments, and they've lost all hope, and they don't see that their life can change. And that's why so much of the times when I start my videos, I'm like, if you feel like you're at the dead end of the end of the end of the end of the end, then you need to follow me and listen to me, and I want to help you get out of that. Because when you feel like you're at the dead end of a dead end road, that it's not going anywhere. You have no hope. You feel like there's literally no hope. Like, why even get up tomorrow? And it's so sad. It's so sad. So I don't mean to harp on that for too long, but just recognize and share this with people, and help people to understand that the alcoholic was doing the best they could, and the addict is doing the best they could, and they have completely forgotten about themselves. They're in such a chaotic cycle of dead end road to, oh no, I'm awake again. Oh no, I'm sober again. I don't want to be sober. I don't want to be sober because I have anxiety, and I'm anxious, and I'm going to start shaking, and then I'm going to start feeling things, and then I'm going to have a panic attack. And so hurry, I'm going to take this pill, or I'm going to hurry and drink again, because their goal is to stay. I don't want to say stay drunk or stay high, because man, when you've been drinking, I don't know about using, because I can't speak to that because I don't know. But when you've been drinking for so long, it almost loses its effect. So you're just trying to stay tipsy and unaware to everything, because you don't want to face something. You don't want to face it. There's something that you don't want to face, or maybe a lot of things that you don't want to face. You don't know how to face them, and you don't know what to say, and you don't know what to do, so you're just going to get blackout drunk. And so that's what they've chosen to do, is escape, run away and hide, because they don't know how. And so be nice, be kind to your fellow addicts and alcoholics. Be kind to them, because what they need is your love. They need you to love on them, because somewhere along the way they forgot how to love themselves. They forgot how to do it. They got so wrapped up in so many things that they forgot about themselves. And so we have to teach these people how to love themselves again. And so when you think about that, that's why I always do the scripture about when I was a brand new Christian. I've gone long today. Thanks for sticking with me, you guys that are still here. When I was a brand new Christian, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I know you're supposed to be a good person, but maybe I can just follow these two that I find in the New Testament. That's maybe not accurate, but that's what I was thinking at the time. That's the point. And it was love God more than anything, and have no gods above God. And love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and have no other gods, and love Him more than anything. And love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I say that all the time, because as you love yourself. And so, how many of us are fighting a disease or an illness or overweight or smoking or the typical standard addicts and alcoholics, or gambling or sex or whatever, because You just don't know how to be good to yourself. And that, the trick to that is truly believing what the Word of God says. And it's truly experiencing God in your own life. And it's truly laying down all the things of the flesh and allowing, this is the receiving part, is because we can believe it, right? We hear it, we believe it, or we don't believe it, but then we have to receive it. And even after hearing the Word of God and having an understanding of the Word of God, you can have that part down for many years, but not truly be able to receive the Word of God. And so it's not until that happens that you say, you know what, God, I'm going to decide to believe in you. I'm going to decide to believe in this whole Jesus thing. And you can even put the Holy Spirit to the side for right now and say, I'm going to believe in you, God. I'm going to believe in Jesus. I'm going to buy into this whole story. And I am going to choose right now to lay down the drinking, what they did, all these things that happened to me that I had no control over, being molested, being raped, not getting a job, rejection, somebody left you, divorce, people died, all these things. I'm going to lay that down truly at the feet of Jesus. And I'm going to pick up, I'm going to allow the blood of Jesus to wash over me. And I'm going to allow you to take that from me. And I'm going to allow you, by receiving that you died for my sins. That's a whole nother level. Like, you can understand, like, you can know about it, you can hear about it. Yeah, I heard that before. Yeah, I grew up in the church. I've heard the stories. I know the scriptures. I memorized them for this and for that in Sunday school, and I heard it. I know it. I understand it. I believe it. Now I'm going to lay down and receive that as another step. And this is where I think people can be stuck, because they'd rather keep that giant boulder in front of their path because they've got that story that we've been telling for years is in this boulder. And gosh darn it, by golly, I'm going to keep that story right there because that's the truth. And that's what they did, and that's what he said, and that's what, this is how it happens, is we hold on to that bundle of that story so hard that we won't let it be laid in front of the feet of Jesus and allow the blood to wash us clean from everything they did and everything we did, washed clean, fully and completely, and then let it go. And that right there, that is where your recovery is. It's in the acknowledgement that we're holding on to this big bundle of stuff that's turned into a giant, enormous boulder right in front of us. And our future's on the other side of the boulder. And our future, and God is on the other side of the boulder. And my best marriage is on the other side of this big rock. It's taller than me, and it's too wide. And by the time you get to the side, you're going to fall off the sides of the mountain. Because you're trying to go up this mountain, and you're trying to get your future, and you're trying to have that marriage, and you're trying to make your job into what you thought it was going to be, and you're trying to build that house, and you're trying to raise your kids, and you're trying to cook dinner and do 999 things every day where you barely sleep and you barely get a break. But this is right here in front of you. And we got to break it, and we got to acknowledge it. And as we list out all those things as people did for one last and final time, and then we close that chapter, and then that is gone. And now we can live with freedom. That is the plan. That is our plan, guys. We are going to get sober in September. You've got to join me. You've got to follow me. You want to be in my sober circle. If you're around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you want to be at my event where I'm going to celebrate my mom and celebrate and honor her and celebrate my grandmother and all the generations of survivors that we are, because we have survived 100% everything we've ever been through, and that's how we are even here. And you can even listen to me and talk about these things. And don't forget about the sunflower and the grit that comes from the sunflowers can grow anywhere. They always follow the sun, which to me is always following God. God is in everything if you look for him. And don't forget about the plants and the flowers in the backyard, because when they are wilting, when they are dying, you don't get mad at the flower or the plant. The flower and the plants and the grass and the trees, they need water. They need love. They need to hear nice talking, because maybe no one ever talked nice to them. Maybe the words that come out of their mouth are not nice because they've never heard anyone talk like that until they came around someone who talks like that. And you might be the only person that they will ever know that would talk to them in a very nice, loving, and kind way. And so please don't look down on the addict and the alcoholic. They're doing the best they can. And try, if you can, to help them to learn to love themselves, because that's where they missed the boat. That's where we missed the boat. We were at the bus stop, but we were at the wrong stop, and somehow we missed the boat or the bus or the ride, or we were on the wrong channel, we're on the wrong station. We didn't learn how to love ourselves. And it took me years to figure that out. And that comes from receiving what God has brought for us, receiving the fact that God loved us so much that when he saw that we couldn't follow the rules, he thought I'm going to have to do something else. And so him and Jesus made a pact, and they had a plan. And Jesus came here to be the perfect son, to walk the earth blameless, perfect, embodied man, and experienced what we experienced, and went through hell, and felt the storms, and felt the rain, and understood all of it. And he chose to give his life. He chose to do that for us. He chose to do that for his Father. And so when you see the connection, parent to child, through the Father and through Jesus, this is how we should be with our children. This is how we need to be with our friends. This is how we need to be with our family, no matter how they act, no matter what they say, no matter what they do. Now, you may have to draw boundaries, like don't be a doormat. Don't let people just run all over you. But love on people, be gracious, have gratitude. Start your morning with gratitude and prayer. I recommend going outside. I recommend going outside at night, at the end of the day. I think that keeps you grounded, and it helps you if you're sleeping, and it's good for your exercise and everything. So I love you guys, and I'm so grateful that you joined me today, and I hope you can join me September the 25th. As soon as I find a place, it's going to be amazing. It's going to have a special guest, and it's going to be so great. And join me tomorrow for Sober Circle at 8 p.m. I also moved that back a little bit so that everybody can be cozy and in their pajamas and just have like a very chill environment that is warm and inviting and makes you want to share from your heart. And I just love you guys. And I hope that you will share this with someone. You can follow me on babydollmartin.com. That's my website. That's where you find my coaching. So you click on the sober button, and that'll dump you into my calendar. And then from there, you'll have a discovery call. And then from there, we can decide if we're a good fit. And I'd love to work with you. And if not, share it with someone that you know. And that's it for tonight. So sober up and have a beautiful day tomorrow. And I love you guys. Bye.